Good morning and welcome to Market Coffee Talk. This is Louis Yanis. Hope you have a cup of coffee. It's a beautiful morning. It's actually snowing here in Colorado. And today I'm going to be talking about some fun stuff. Did you happen to see this guy? This is such a cool video. I saw this morning. So there's this dog, and evidently this is in Loveland, Colorado. There's this dog that is so curious about this elk, and he's sitting there wagging his tail. There's a video of it online. He's wagging his tail, looking almost lovingly into the eyes of this elk and giving it a big kiss. It is so awesome. It's so neat to see an animal that is so different that normally would be hunting, like the deep instinct is to hunt the elk. And it made me realize that there's some good and peace in the world with all this craziness that's happening. So thought I'd start the day off with that. So I'm happy to have some coffee this morning. Always happy to have some coffee. So I have in my hands here, I'm on this email list. I might have told you of these like really amazing analysts, great analysts. And one of the things they sent was this chart of the average lifespan of the companies in the S&P 500. And the chart goes down and to the left. And it's interesting because it wasn't very long ago that the average length of time that a company was in the S&P 500 was 61 years. 61 years. Companies really stuck around for 61 years. Now you know what it is? The average lifespan of a company that's in the S&P 500, that's the big companies, 18 years. Only 18 years. So the half-life is amazing. So what's causing that? I've been making the argument that we live in an age of innovation and creative destruction, and that you must follow the disruption and go where the growth is. And this is actual proof that this is happening. This is proof that this is happening. And you can see the S&P 500 has become more and more concentrated into bigger and bigger names. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, first of all, why is that happening? Why is that happening? Well, first of all, a lot of it has to do with the fact that companies are dealing with rapid technological advancements, and their business models are just needing to change rapidly. So what are they doing? They're either going out of business and falling off the charts. That would be the destruction side, or they're changing their business model and they need other companies to merge with in order to change that business model. So a lot of these companies go from one company to another. So instead of having 61 years as being the average length of time that a company was in the S&P 500, now the average lifespan of a company in the S&P 500 is only 18 years. So they're merging. So what's keeping people? Why are they merging like this? What's going on? Well, not only is it disruption technology, but it's also globalization. So as more and more, as we've opened up, in particular with China, the costs have come way down and it's put a lot of pressure on margins and wages. So a lot of mergers have happened that way because they need to get larger to get economies of scale, right? So my argument and the whole reason I'm bringing this up is that you cannot invest like your parents. You need to stop investing like your parents, and you need to be investing in a way that actually capitalizes on these changes, because the S&P 500 clearly shows what's happening there. Now, there's another reason why this is happening, just in case you were wondering, and that has a lot to do with Wall Street craziness. It's actually accounting rules. So with accounting rules, with certain types of mergers, the way the math works out is your earnings actually look like they're growing faster if you merge. So companies will merge, their earnings look like they're going up faster, and that is another incentive to move together. All right, so these companies are getting more and more concentrated, right? So I want to talk about something else, something that was, got on my desk, and that's the concept of sequence of returns. It sounds boring, but it's so important. So if you plan on if you're retired now, this affects you right now. If you are wanting to be financially independent and you want to invest wisely to have a great retirement, you need to listen up really closely. Let's say you have two investors. Both investors get the same average rate of return. Let's say it's 8%. The order of which your returns happen have a lot to do with your actual ability for your money to last and how long it will last. If you have more negative returns in the early years of your retirement, you have negative compounding and your money can drop very, very fast. If you have the positive returns in the early years, your money will last a lot longer because of the compounding effect. So there's some ways that you can actually deal with this. The first way would be have a buffer account. So in other words, if you have an account when you're putting together your plan, you have an account where you have short-term instruments that can be used when the markets are down, when your investments are not doing as well. So you're not drawing down when the investments are down, because as you have this positive return going up, if you're selling more shares when it's down, when it recovers, you're not going to recover as fast. But if you don't sell when the markets are down, then you actually, and you use bonds or liquid instruments, then you actually can invest more aggressively with your other money that's not the buffer account, and you can hold on during those periods of time when you have some small drawdowns, hopefully small drawdowns if you manage it correctly. So that can extend the life of your portfolio a long, long time. The second thing you can do is you can limit the withdrawals. You could basically have a setup to where you say, I'm not going to spend as much when things are not doing as well out there. And a lot of people do that, and that can really help a lot. And the third thing is to put guaranteed investment accounts in there. So you can take a portion of your money and say, look, the money that I would normally have in bonds, which are not paying very much right now, I'm going to put them into guaranteed investments that are earning, say, 5%, 6%. They're guaranteed rates of return through insurance companies, and then you know you're going to have that income stream, and that will take off the sequence of returns risk because you have a level base that you know is going to be there. It's like a paycheck replacement plan. So when interest rates are low, that could be a smart idea, and when valuations are really high in stocks, that could also be a good idea. So the sequence of your returns has a lot to do with how well you're going to do. So two people with the same average return do not have the same outcome depending on when you retire. If you retired during, just before the dot-com bubble, the stock market didn't recover at all for 11 years. So how would you have done then? We've had, I was managing money back then, and we've successfully navigated and made money during that period of time for people so that they didn't have that problem and they sailed through it. It was not easy, but they sailed through it nicely and their lifestyle was not affected and they were able to come out the other end. So you have to invest wisely when you're dealing with your retirements and understand how to deal with the sequence of returns. Okay, another thing that hit my desk. So there was a lot of crazy news today. I mean, I saw that on Twitter that somebody tweeted actually a picture of a KKK hood to Candace Owens. And I guess I don't know if she said anything. I guess she must have said something and said, hey, you should really have this taken off. She told Twitter, I believe that's what happened there. Anyway, Twitter, as I understand it, defended it and say, no, it doesn't breach our policy. So you can go ahead and keep it on there. And I think a lot of people are kind of like wondering, is that a double standard? Because there was things that were a lot less racist than a blatant person sending a KKK hood to somebody who's black. There was things that was a lot less racist than that arguably wasn't even racist, that were yanked off of Twitter. Now, the only difference that I can see between those two would be that she's a Republican who's black versus the Democrats that were even white or not black. I just wonder if that's a double standard. I think we need to have our eyes open on that. Another interesting thing that happened was I noticed that on the border, it appears that the Biden administration has not been letting the media go and report at the border, taking pictures and things like that. I believe during the Trump administration, I saw lots of people reporting, lots of media people reporting. Why would they do that? I don't understand why they would do that. If things are going so well and their policy's so great, why would they do that? Or even if it's not great, why wouldn't you want to show the truth? I thought they were, we're supposed to be for transparency. So, um, in full disclosure, I'm an independent, so both sides kind of disagree with me. But I just feel like there's a double standard that's been created that we just need to keep our eyes open to. I don't care what your politics are, because we just want to have the truth, right? I thought that was kind of interesting. Now let's get off of that stuff because that is a hot button for some people. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the markets. Now, I actually had, and there's a great analyst that sent me this chart, which you really probably can't see too well. There's a yellow line there. I guess I could have put it up on the screen. Well, what this chart shows is the S&P 500, and it shows the advanced decline line. So it's the number of advances. It's an indicator of the number of stocks that are moving higher versus lower. And what's interesting is we had a peak in the number of stocks that are advancing versus declining that happened a while back and actually has not recovered, even though the market's kind of been going sideways. And normally, historically, what that means is that we have a period of softening because what's underneath the hood is a decline in the average stock, whereas the overall market is showing that it's holding up. And that has to do with the weights and the capitalization weights. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that because the internals seem to be deteriorating as the market is going kind of sideways. So it's a minor move. So it's not something that's real critical, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and like and share this out if you like this information. If you ever want to contact me, just go to info@wealthnetinvest.com and give us a shout. Hope you're having a great day. Talk to you later.